You bet. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good day.
I said that about the Illinois because I noticed one gentleman had a license in Illinois.
Is it hard to get those? Do you have to retest or can you just transfer?
Okay, two stories for you on that. The old Pocahontas County engineer, Steve Camp before Jack, because I was the assistant in Webster County. Anyway, he had come from California, and he was telling me that it was very difficult in California. After you get done with school, you can take your first exam, the EI exam, and you can take the PE exam within that same year. And so other states don't recognize that because they want you to you sit for the first exam, you work 4 years at least, you can work longer, and then you take your PE exam. He had to get an attorney, he fought it, he finally did get his PE license in Iowa, but it was kind of a struggle for him. So, that's why, looking at this, he's from Arizona, but it looks like he has a license in Missouri and Illinois. Basically, Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois have the same requirements. You got to work 4 years. And I do know when I was up in Minnesota, county engineer up there that went back to Illinois, that was his home area. And so, he was able to get his license transferred to Illinois. So I'm assuming they have the same requirements. So that's why I think, he probably won't have any trouble. And usually that takes, when I had to get mine for Iowa, it took, I want to say, was it 3 weeks, a month? But they can get that fairly quickly if they get all their stuff in. So
Still be a good question to ask, though.
yes, and so like for me, I had to get letters of reference from my former employers for the work experience. Even though I spent all that time in Iowa, I still had to get 2 letters, and thankfully, because one of my former bosses I worked this summer for Hardin County, which is Bob Haylock, and he was starting the beginnings of Alzheimer's. So I was fortunate the 2 I had to get a reference from were still pretty sharp. So, but it takes a little bit, but it can be done. So. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. What's your wishes?
I think we should go ahead and interview them all and
Yep.
start setting up dates. Have Jack, because you got, this week's already burned up, so you probably maybe get one squeezed in that 3rd week of February, and then maybe the other 2 first couple weeks of March, where you get them all in March.
Yep.
Have to see what everybody's got open for availability for interviews and coordinate with the Clay County engineer to participate in those discussions.
Formal motion on any of that, I'd make yes or no.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we rescind any prior offers for engineer position and have Mr. Reed conduct initial interviews with all the current applicants and proceed to schedule interviews with the board.
I would second that.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, Claire?
Nope.
Review the budget?
What do you got?
I did make some changes to
Got some tabs
it.
for us?
I do. I think they're pink this time.
Let me know when you want me to go. Yeah. Don't hold my breath.
Yeah. The first one is the county attorney. I took his part-time help out of there. Where is that?
That is my motion.
Oh, is it the engineer? Which is?
Is there a pink tab in there?
Oh, I got a pink here.
No.
I don't know, what is this thing? Is it pink out here or
It's-
pink here?
No, pink on the side.
Oh.
Yeah, so the county attorney was I only made 3 changes this time. So, the first one is the county attorney. I took that $6,000 out he had for, his part-time help.
Good.
So that was the first change that I did. Then the second change was the treasurer's office. Since she hired within, she changed, up the pay to $45,000 instead of the $33,500 that she's hiring within. Does that make sense?
What was it down there? Where?
I don't know, she's getting her, she's getting a raise April, I don't know what that raise is.
So do you carry over the same wage you were getting
Well,
in
that's
one
what
office?
you have
and
been in the
that?
past, but I don't know.
I would think you would.
I wasn't sure how that worked.
Yeah, that's what's been done in the past.
Okay.
So that went up then, right?
Yeah, it went up, and then I changed the FICA and IFRS and the salary. And then the last change was non-departmental.
Stupid question. Why does it show that it went down?
Well, because it's probably going down from what it currently is.
Oh,
Current year, that's why it went down.
gotcha.
That's
So will
why.
she be the,
She probably won't be a deputy at first, she'll be a clerk.
so will the other
Well,
lady?
Bev's already a deputy.
Okay.
She's already one, so. And then the next change I did was, public safety. I kept that and moved that back down to what we're currently paying right now.
They voted to no raise, so.
And then I did a new budget sheet, and they're still gonna end up with $946,000 projected fund balance for 2023, so,
All
I mean-
entities are staying at this year's contribution.
Yep.
I mean, that's just a projection, it's probably gonna be more than that, 'cause you never spend the full budget or anything, so.
Can we use part of that money if we do some remodeling over there?
I don't, not in
I don't know.
jail, I don't think, I think I'll have to come out of general,
Okay.
but I would have to do some more.
Just thought I'd ask.
So then with all those changes, then so then I backed down the public safety levy, you know, I had to raise it 5 cents, so I backed it down to $1.05 per thousand. And then, of course, we backed off general supplemental, so $1.15. So I gave you a new ending fund balances sheet, and they all look. Monday I worked from home and I went over these again to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I can't see anything that I missed, so I'm confident that, we're good to go, I guess.
Double check.
I did. You know, you kinda have a little panic attack when you're sitting around and doing nothing, it's like, oh my God, did I miss something? But I went over everything and I can't see anything that I'm missing. But we're gonna have to do a budget amendment anyway this year for the mental health, because I didn't include last year, you know, what we're gonna have to pay, because our any fund balance goes to the state, so. And that Rescue American Funds too, you know, until we decide what we're gonna do with that, I didn't budget anything for that, so. So then, I didn't print a new sheet out, this hasn't changed, this is still the same, if we keep everything the same. I just need to know what you guys wanna put me for an explanation, but we're decreased, we're not increasing, so.
Do we need an
Well,
explanation for a decrease?
just that once we have this public hearing, we can't change our tax asking in the general and general supplemental and rural basic. You wanna talk?
You can lower it.
You can lower it, you just
Yeah.
can't increase it, yeah. That's much easier doing it ahead of time than at budget time. But
I'm wanting to strike while the iron's hot, but I'm doing it out of irritation as much as anything. But, Senate File 619 last year, I learned at statewide supervisors last week that eliminates the backfill for commercial and property, industrial property tax over time, which irritates me enough, since they promised that's not how it's gonna be, but. And it changed mental health funding. I say it's a rough Peter to pay Paul. They're still making the county pay for both, just in different ways. Also found out that they are expanding the elderly tax credit, property tax credit at the end of that bill. And they said that they provided no funding for that. Minimal dollar wise, honestly, I think, but we don't know until a year out how many will apply and how much that affects, but I had it here, I'll actually send it to you.
What do you gotta be elderly?
That was my.
What's the cutoff on
Well,
that?
there's a certain guideline, your income guideline, but I don't know, that's done in the treasurer's office, but there's a certain income guideline that you have to meet.
But as part of the original credit, I think this applies, the amount paid by the director of revenue to each county treasurer. Sorry. Basically, they said the state's gonna fund whatever that amount gets created, and it gets submitted to each county treasurer. Now, they're changing the rules, and it's likely available to more people, we're gonna likely see more credit applied for and accepted, so we'll get fewer property tax dollars. I said to Lucas Bankin with ISAC, I said, but Iowa Code has a section that says, talks about unfunded mandates, and local jurisdictions don't have to implement laws that aren't funded by the state. Yeah, they've got in the language of 619, and section 25B.7, subsection 1, shall not apply to the amount of the credit in excess of the amount paid by the director of revenue. So in that law, the state says, yeah, we know there's a law that says we can't do this, so we're saying it doesn't apply to this new law, so we're bearing the brunt of the decision they're making. I'm running with, I've never understood how you go above the 350 on the general basic max levy, but I knew counties did, and there's a way. So I looked into that, and a couple of the options says that if it's if unusual problems relating to major new functions required by state law, or unusual need for additional monies to permit continuance of a program which provides substantial benefit to county residents. I would honestly like to run with it this year, but my auditor's telling me no, it's not enough time, and I can't disagree with her, but she says it's pretty clear that the commercial industrial property tax backfill that isn't going to be provided is at least $20,000 hit to the county. I would like to use this excess of the 350 levy, not this year out of respect for our auditor, but next year, to clearly identify those areas that the state is throwing things on our back that we had no say over and lose revenue over. I don't want to or like taxing our citizens more, but they're making the decisions on what we can and can't do for our citizens in ways that I don't think they should. This clearly identifies, well, this is what we were always getting, we're just needing to go to you because the state isn't coming to the table like they did and said they would. Plus, it clearly identifies if the state ever does change course and fund what I think they should fund, we know right where those funds are or what we're generating to address that easily and clearly. So, something to think about, not for this year, future years. And it's gonna grow, that 20,000 is gonna probably double next year and grow by that amount for 8 years until they're completely done funding us in that area. I think it was an 8-year phase out, it was the same amount every year.
I thought it was ended in fiscal year 24 or 26.
29 on the phase out of that. 26 is maybe when they get the max funding for mental health or something, I don't know for sure, but. So between those two areas, and I'll gladly dredge up any other ones where they've changed the playing field on us, and we can do that, but I think it's a clear way to get the discussion started with our citizens. Yeah, I hate increasing our taxes, but it's either that or we don't have the ability with the 350 we have to do what we had before, because they aren't funding us dollars that we had before, so we're losing ground in that 350. So, I guess, going into next year, I would love for us to take that course. Code section 331.426 is the, above the 350 one you can review.
What qualifies you to go over though? I mean,
I think, I'm glad to argue that it's an unusual problem relating to major new functions required by the state law.
you think you'd get them to say that's good?
And E is unusual need for additional monies to permit continuance of a program which provides substantial benefits to county residents. I'm in favor of the elderly tax credit being expanded. I just think we should have a say in it.
Yeah.
And I'm in favor of the commercial industrial property taxes having a rollback. but the state decided they needed that with our dollars, so.
And they're already running a surplus anyway.
This isn't the first time they've dumped it back on us.
I think those apply, or at least get the conversation started, and then we can at least tell our citizens that, hey, we're trying to fight back against the state, but they keep dumping stuff on us, and then if we get watched at this, I don't think it's unethical or unreasonable to take this approach in this code section. I think it's far more in line with what's respectful of our taxpayers than accepting yourself from a code section because you wanna put a new code section in place and put someone else that bear the brunt of it.
So between now and next year, Rochelle, do you think you could maybe feel out the old government and see, what exactly would qualify to?
We called Carrie Johnson this morning and ran it by her, and she said it's basically a political decision. She didn't give an indication that it would be unacceptable, but there's no guarantee that it couldn't be challenged.
We have a healthy fund balance, you know, in general. I don't know if that would challenge anything or not.
My approach would be, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, Brian.
And I'm not looking to use this to grow things right now. I would see us using less of the general supplemental, so our tax levy, total tax levy wouldn't change. We go above 350 for these items that we're identifying. We take out of supplemental whatever that generates right now, or that amount generates right now, because, no, we don't need it, but it's just, I think, a legal and an option available to us that clearly shows the public why, and it starts a conversation. We're doing this because the state is funding less of what they said or should have to.
And, you know, the main reason we're running out of time, is I have to have this in the paper on
Yeah.
Friday, and we can't go above this. We can go up and can't go above this, so that's part of the problem that I was hella concerned about.
It's food for thought.
Yep.
I think it'd be legitimate for this year, but I respect.
But then you'll have to wait, and see what new rules they shove through this session.
Maybe add more to it.
With your windmill money and the school districts and everything else that they're working
On that
on.
tip,
Yeah.
that tip, I don't know how that's gonna affect anything, or,
You will have to wait and see what happens with that, I guess.
And I would guarantee that if it goes through, that's just a starting point. Just keeping it in there,
I just hope the tips are grandfathered in,
not with current language, but.
I know. A little concerned.
Then you could go over to 350. Yeah.
Anything else as far as the budget?
No.
Ernie's just having a hard time finding contractors that's gonna wanna do the clerk office.
I did send another one up here, or is supposed to come up here.
He was just having a hard time finding people that coordinate.
That kid that worked on the road, I told, Chantry that he could make an appointment with Ernie or whatever to discuss what was needed.
So everybody's okay then with how we have this sheet here and go with it and?
Sounds fantastic, Rochelle.
Guys have to look at
I'm
it
gonna
Friday.
take these back, Michelle,
Yeah.
those are all set.
Okay.
All right. Anybody need, I guess, I need sign those.
Yeah, time to go. You know what that means? Bathroom time.
Ryan, how's the drive?
Good morning. Not bad. 4 hours.
Tell me if you find a better way.
No, I didn't. I went over to Omaha and up. Starting on the west side of Des Moines. I think that's just the easiest. Less small towns to go through and just less stops. Sit up here.
Yep.
Right here, good?
Sure. Any donuts, or you want?
No, I'm good. I'm good there. Alright, I got plenty of books this year.
Need a donut?
No, thanks though. I'm good. Good morning. So they got you working overtime today. Keeping you here late? I'm good from meeting now.
Based on, I don't know that long term, based on our premiums, what we're having our employees contribute to the family plan, and what they say is actual, get that back to family plan, and that would be participated for.
Probably have all this right here.
So, yeah,
584 and 608.50 is the family today.
Yeah, what we're currently planning, 6,850 is a family and
right, we did a 10%.
Reduction.
Oh, that's already
That's
taken
July
10%.
1.
Yeah.
So going forward would be 547.
Yeah, that's right here.
Okay.
So I got a negative 10,
And the
20, 30.
actual HSA one is 424 for family plans to the employee.
Yeah, 426 we have.
Okay.
Close.
So with
That was actually by
$123
$5,000
difference,
deductible.
You do.
Or
Or seven, well-
difference per month.
Yeah, you do, but you stop and go down to
The
750.
HSA spent had the same
A lot of people-
cost
more
for
than last year.
insurance annually as the HRA family
Well, you
participants,
should
right?
have paid more than $1,500 out of that.
Ours is a little bit.
So you would.
Well, we got it very close.
Because of, right,
We should have.
that'd be 121, but, so based on premium differences, they'd be able to
No,
contribute 121 towards their own HSA.
Well,
account.
3,000 for families.
Still at
I
the
think
same
yours is,
premium.
yours is 1,500 for single and 3,000 for
some
family,
on
because
each
you're
are.
self-insured down to the,
Yeah, the scenario we put
Deductible.
together here,
I'll have to go back and see what I.
the family cost is gonna be very close between the two plans because we made the total premium comparable. So the total cost of the county, regardless of which plan you enroll in, is about the same. Which
Yeah,
that's
that's
what a lot
kind
of,
where I'm getting to.
quite a few counties have started to do this, they put HSAs in years ago. It was costing them more than their $5,000 deductible plan, so. Yeah, my numbers will get, I see what you're doing.
Yeah,
And this is
if
just
they
an
would-
illustration.
They put that annual difference towards the HSA and the total deductible.
Yeah, I did bring down the HSA contributions a little bit too.
County would use their contribution, you're probably towards their protection, same as.
Yeah, we're gonna be close. We'll get real close.
Hey, you wanna work 30 hours a week?
whatever.
The courthouse looks nice, pulling up to it.
Yeah, thanks. Got new windows and
Are those
think
So those new, the windows are new inside too? You just had to match the same exact stain and,
Yeah, they did
It's
really
pretty
well.
close.
Yeah.
They did really good.
yeah, I was amazed, it looked really nice when I pulled up. I couldn't remember if that was that way when I was here last.
You know, I
But
don't-
that was a
I
big
normally
ticket
don't
item.
Pay any attention.
Mhm.
And my son and I were driving by the other day and I said, you know, what, that does look dated.
It does look good.
You know?
Yeah.
Those windows just pop.
Yeah.
Really good.
What'd that cost out of curiosity?
Or just a little bit.
Much better than some shit.
$500 down.
$325,000.
That doesn't sound, I mean, a lot, but,
They're triple paint.
yeah. It's gotta be much more energy efficient.
More light.
Certainly the aesthetics are improved.
That was.
When was this courthouse built? You know? It doesn't appear to be that old. 40 years?
Oh, no,
We've
more
all
than
been in
that.
thing in 1913.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
Yeah,
over
it's
100
old,
years,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow, it looks good for its age.
Yeah, this board and previous boards have kept it up. so
Yeah,
it's-
there's some courthouses that are
1902.
not look,
Not
really,
looking so good.
Where was it at before then? Was it here?
I think it was here, it was a just different building.
Was that? I'm not so sure if my folks' house was the old courthouse.
Yeah, there you go. I think it was.
Really?
Yeah.
really?
I think so.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Huh,
Where-
that's
Where's
cool.
that?
Where your sister lives now.
Where Lena lives.
Where you went to get your driver's license, Leroy?
Yeah. Thank you.
Geez,
it's kinda nasty, isn't it, Leroy? I tell you.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, the trouble is, I just paid him for a foreman job.
Yeah, now I can talk big, can't I?
I should've held off. Well, I don't know, it's about that time, should we get started?
We'll get to it.
You got one coming
Yeah,
on
you
me.
certainly can.
I'll wait for it.
We're still waiting on a few and
Yeah.
you got one more?
Oh, yeah.
Show up, okay. All right, let's get started. Again, my name's Ryan Burvin with Group Benefit Partners. I've been up to your county in years past. I'm not sure I was here last year. I think we had a virtual meeting, but prior to that, I was here at least 2 years. We're gonna review the FY '23, so the fiscal year '23 benefits renewal through ISAC, which your county participates in. The medical, dental, and vision. The dental and vision are both voluntary, where the employee pays the cost. But overall, as an association, fiscally, they're doing very well. They had a phenomenal renewal this year. 1.5% was the overall base rate change. Now, your county is gonna be different because we have different methodologies that we work off of for underwriting purposes for each county. But if we go past the proposal cover, we have a client overview and benefits overview. We have Rochelle in her office as the primary, that's our day-to-day contact that we would work with. Eligibility in the upper right-hand corner, the new hire waiting period for new employees, their benefits eligible first of the month following date of hire, 24 deductions per year. Rochelle, if anything looks incorrect, please let me know. Post-employment coverage, COBRA, ISAC now pays for counties to have that administration done on their behalf. So that was new within the last year. ISAC pays about $1 per employee per month to the third-party administrator to have that done for each county. And then the benefits listed below, all of which are purchased through ISAC, they have the endorsement on them. The health plan, dental and vision, the accident through Reliance Standard, the voluntary AD&D, the accidental death and dismemberment. The partial self-funding, that's what buys down your $5,000 deductible. So again, when you go to the provider, they do see a $5,000 deductible because they do not work with Midwest Group Benefits, they only work with Walmart, but after the claim processes, then the third party will get that same data that you're receiving through your explanation of benefits to buy that deductible down. The HSA, you moved that to Midwest Group Benefits, I think last January. Has that been going okay?
Yeah, seems to be.
Okay.
Haven't had any
You send
complaints.
over, does all the money go over to one transmittal and then they separate it out into the accounts?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it seems to be going okay.
good. And then again, the COBRA administration through Midwest Group Benefits. Most of your policies, the medical, dental, and vision, of course, renew in July. The accident, voluntary AD&D, partial self-funding, that all starts back over January 1. And then your COBRA administration, those rates will change with your medical renewal in July. The next page is the employee cost share. So this is what the employees pay in monthly contributions through payroll. We have Plan 8, 9, and 12C. So 8 and 9 are the buy down of the deductible. Plan 12C is the HSA eligible plan. And then the dental and vision, those costs are listed 100% at the employee's expense. The accident and voluntary AD&D are based on the enrollment, so we can't show you the exact cost because it's different based on if you enroll your spouse, child, and you can buy an enhanced plan. And then in the asterisk there at the bottom, the employer makes a contribution of $1,800 to a single enrollment for HSA, or $3,400 to a family contract for HSA contributions. So those are, again, it was great to do a significant contribution to start that plan up, and you've gotten great enrollment into that high deductible health plan option.
Prior action does say that for the first 2 years that anybody's enrolled in the plans, that would apply to new hires, even if we, or I think we want that to apply to new hires, even if we alter contributions.
Yeah, my only concern there is it would get confusing. That would be my only, just for Michelle's office, you know, it can be managed, but that would not be what I typically see. Typically, when we put the plan in place, we do a higher contribution, then we pull it back, and that's gonna affect everyone when it's pulled in, just to keep it consistent. That'd be my recommendation anyway. The next page is my account team. Again, I'm on the left. Sam in my office does all of the billing. Katie and Madison are the account managers and are primary day-to-day contact for employee navigator, employee questions with their partial self-fund, HSA accounts, and Tyler helps me on the sales side. So go to the ISAC tab. We have the FY23 highlight sheet, and I'm not going to go through every bullet point here. But under the health program, the upper left-hand corner, we have had steady growth. About 2 counties each year have been joining. So when I took ISAC over 4 years ago, we had 20 counties. We now have 26 that are part of the pool. And I have other counties that I've become the agent on that really want in. I just want to make sure they're of good risk at the time that we bring them into the existing pool. The early notification of renewal rates is really the #1 reason why counties want to become a part of this association plan. We were able to get rates out this year by December 1st for the following July. So you had a full 7-month early notification of that renewal rate. And that's just something you cannot get on your own. You have 90 days, and that gets very challenging for county budgets. The dental program, we now have 23 counties a part of that. That's grown dramatically. The vision program doubled in the last year from 10 to 19 counties. In the upper right-hand corner, our worksite and ancillary, so that accident policy that ISAC pays for employee-only coverage, that was new January 1st of 21. Some counties have elected to offer voluntary critical illness. The accident plan includes the accidental death and dismemberment, an old policy that ISAC paid for with a company called Chubb. It also includes a wellness benefit. All of my office and the work that we do, there's no extra fee for counties to pay. ISAC pays us a retainer fee. So that's not directly passed on to the county, which has been appreciated by quite a few groups. And then the complimentary ISAC benefits, the wellness program that they continue to spend a lot of money on. I think just under $2 million between premium discounts, employee incentives, and then the programs that they sponsor. Again, COBRA administration is covered by the association now in full, consolidated billing, so all ISAC products do come on one invoice each month. And then the employee assistance program that's paid for in full by ISAC for employees to use confidentially, with really almost unlimited use. The next page is a quick review of the 2022 wellness program. I'm sure you're already very familiar with this. It looks very similar to 2021. Employees need to get their physical. If they get their physical with an 80% completion rate, the county gets 4% off their premium for the following year. New this year, employees no longer have to do the fax form, so that is an advantage. We're gonna get a report from Walmart that will give us the data we need to give ISAC to verify if physicals were completed. And then if 60% of employees do the Mercy Health Risk Assessment, that takes no more than 10 or 15 minutes, you get another % discount for a maximum of 5. ISAC is still paying $30 per county, per contract per year to each individual county to sponsor their own wellness program. And then the employee incentives are listed below. So if employees get their physical, which gives the county a significant discount, they also get a $75 check in the mail. It's not taxable at this point.
Does that physical, if there's other things that are acceptable, except having just a physical? Like the A1C and the...
There are, it doesn't have to just be a physical. I know there's a list that ISAC has approved for 2022. I do not have that with me, but yeah, that's a great question. I don't sponsor this, this is ISAC sponsored, but you're correct. That is true. But in total, employees can get up to $200 a year in incentives by participation in this program. The last flyer in this tab is the EAP flyer. So this is the Employee Assistance Program. Again, employees have access to this today. There's no cost. So we're on the last page of the ISAC tab. It's unlimited phone-based support, in-person counseling. You get 6 sessions per issue per year. This sits in front of the health plan, so it does not coordinate with the health plan. Employees have no cost to utilize this program. We've had phenomenal reviews by employees that have actually used this within the last year and a half. And it's been more heavily utilized since COVID became a thing. All right, we'll go to the medical tab. This is where we're going to spend probably the rest of our time. And I have a fairly hard stop about 12:15, so we'll have 30 roughly minutes to get through this. But the first page is the utilization key. So we're going to look back over the last 3 years. Your county continues to be a very high performer within the 26 counties that participate in ISAC, meaning it's been financially advantageous for you to be a part of the association. In return, they've given you very, very good renewals over the last 5 years. So over the last 3 years of FY 19, 20, and 21, we show the collected premium listed for each year. You'll see a drastic reduction from 19 to 20 because that's when you started to partial self-fund. So 980 became 790, 736. You can see your total expense has been very much in line with your premium. Your 3-year average loss ratio is 81%, which is one of the better. You're, I think, the second or third best county within ISAC from a loss ratio perspective. That puts you on the right-hand side for that utilization key at a level 3 discount of 15% from the base rate. So every county starts at the base rate, and you go down or up from there based on some different parameters. This is the most important one. So you're getting the best discount that you can receive. And you have some wiggle room. You're at 81. The breaking point is 85. So even if you have a year that you replace with 90, you may still qualify for a level 3 discount next year. The next section in the middle is the large claim adjustment. So this is specifically looking at catastrophic claims for members within your county versus the premium that ISAC pays the stop-loss provider to have a high catastrophic deductible on every member. For 19 and 20, we had a $150,000 deductible that I helped ISAC purchase. For 21, it was a $200,000 deductible. You can see for all 3 years, you've had 0 claims above the deductible per member. So your loss ratio is 0, which then gives you a negative 2.5 additional discount off the base rate. So you're getting the maximum discounts for both of those scenarios. You then go down to the bottom, so we look at FY 22, which is our current year that we're in, to FY 23, which is our renewal in July. You start at the ISAC base rate. I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the increase in the base rate was 1.5%. So you may want to note that down in that area. Your experience, you were at a negative 15, you continued with a negative 15. Your large claim went from a 0 to a negative 2.5, so that helped you, 2.5%. Your wellness, you kept all 5%. That reserve fund adjustment, that was a 2-year dividend that ISAC put in place because they had such financially advantageous years. They gave 6% for FY '21, 3% for FY '22. It's being phased out for FY '23. So that hurts you by 3%. So you effectively go from 77% of base rate to 77.5. We know base rate went up 1.5%. So your overall increase is just above 2%. And you'll see that on the next page. So on the next page, we have current on the left-hand side, renewal on the right. We have Plan 11C, which is your high deductible plan that you use a partial self-fund with. So it's a $5,000 deductible, $6,350 out-of-pocket maximum. Your plan on the right-hand side is your high deductible HSA plan, 12C, a $2,800 deductible, 100% co-insurance to $2,800 out-of-pocket. So there's no plan change in either plan. So the current renewal is an exact match of plan. You'll see the enrollment at the bottom, so under the premium section, you can see that you have about 2/3 of your employees enrolled in Plan 11E. 23 singles, 17 families. On Plan 12C, you have 8 singles, 11 families. So you're renewing at a 2.2% increase, or $15,500 in overall total annual increase. Counties that were with Wellmark directly, not in ISAC this year, the trend increase with Wellmark is 9. We had a lot of counties between 15 and 30% total increase. I mean, it's really some catastrophic, very challenging renewals this year if you're not a part of ISAC. But again, your county's performing very well. And that's why ISAC's giving you a 2.2% increase. So again, the Plan 11E, we have 2 different plans that we partially self-fund down to. One's a $500 deductible, one's a $750. You'll see that on the next page. So this next page is the partial self-fund illustration. So this is what you use with Midwest Group Benefits to buy down the deductible for the employee. Most of your employees on the upper left-hand corner are enrolled in Plan 8, which is the $500 deductible. So the rates are shown, which are Plan 11E. So the plan you buy from ISAC is a $5,000 deductible, $6,350 out-of-pocket maximum. But your employee benefit is $500 and $1,000. So the maximum risk to your county is $5,350 for an employee-only contract, or $10,700 for a family. For this plan, totals $267,500. For Plan 9, you only have 4 employees enrolled. The maximum risk is just under $34,000. So if you go down to the bottom section, the bottom left-hand corner, we show you 100% utilization of your risk. So the premium that you pay ISAC for this plan is $453,000. If everyone hit their maximum out-of-pocket through Wellmark, for single and family, the county would write a check for $301,450. There's an admin fee of $31.20. Your all-in maximum cost is just over $757. Your actual utilization, in the 2020 claims are not a really good benchmark because you didn't have the high deductible plan that year. So I would look at your annualized 2021 claims on this partial self-fund illustration of $68,000. That's a good benchmark. We're going to budget more than that. So for the next page, I show a budget of 30% utilization, or $90,000 in expense. You're annualizing this year to end up at 68. Any questions on this partial self-fund illustration before we go to the next page? I think we're in year 4 now of the buy down of the deductible. Employees that have been on that plan are probably becoming more familiar with the process. You moved from secure benefits to Midwest Group Benefits, which made it a little bit better. And you've accumulated a very substantial reserve, and that's what you're going to see on the next page. So the next page is the partial self-fund reserve analysis. We show 4 different options. No change in premium, a negative 10%, which we've already discussed, a negative 20% for option 3, and a negative 30%, that should be option 4. Missed that one. So let's go down to the bottom. I first want to show you what your premiums are that you're actually paying yourselves. So you're paying yourselves $675 or $975 and $21.92 for Plan 8, $936 and $21.04 for Plan 9. Those are the total premiums. Part of that premium pays for ISAC premiums, part of that premium pays to buy down the deductible and the administration fee for that. So let's go up to option 2, because we've already decided we're at least going to do a -10. I think you should consider possibly more based on putting this illustration together. You're starting with $933,000 in your reserve account. That was a reserve balance that's probably dated a couple months. It's likely only increased from the time that we took that number down. So here's where your -10 or -20% is going to be impacted based on your county premium that you're paying yourselves based on the premiums at the bottom. So if you take a -10%, you're going to pay yourself $641,000. If you take a -20% to your premiums for these two plans, you're going to pay yourself $570,000. So you start with $933, you pay yourselves $570, you then back out the ISAC premium, because that's an expense. So $453,000 is going to be paid to ISAC regardless. That then leaves you $188,000 or $117,000 for your partial self-fund risk. If we budget $90,000 and the admin fee of $3120, you'll see that option 2 still grows your reserve by $23,000 and shows your ending balance at just over $950. I think 30% would be maybe too much, but I do feel comfortable recommending a 20% reduction based on how these numbers reflect still a growth in the reserve.
You got inflation priced in there too?
So these are fixed costs, so we know your premium from ISAC. I do know that your renewal next year is going to be larger than 2%.
That's what I'm saying, do you get, like, you don't know what next year's gonna be.
It's not going
We'll
to,
have a chance to budget for that next year.
it's not going to exceed 10 likely, but you're still, even with a 10% increase, you're still putting too much into your health plan this year at a -20%, so you still have some wiggle room to work off of, if that makes sense. So of that $90,000 this year, you've annualized to spend 68 of that. If you spend all 90, you're still going to grow your reserve at the end of this next fiscal year. The reason you've built up a tremendous reserve, based on the size of your county in comparison to others, you have the hands down the highest reserve balance. No one comes close to a county of your size. So you have enough money in this account that we should never have to see, although your ISAC increase next year could be 10 or 15%, Osceola County's increase should never exceed 5. You have so much money accumulated here, and that's a really good problem to have. But unless you make a fairly significant adjustment this year, it's just going to exponentially get larger.
My only concern with that approach is, I want this ending fund balance to remain for when claims exceed the $500 deductible that the employees or $1,000 deductible that the employees are exposed to.
Yep.
If we're using that to hold down premiums, in a sense, our participating at 50% of family plan is no longer the case. We're actually funding more of the
Well,
employees.
If we did a -20, you're getting closer to the true cost.
Right.
You've really been overcharging employees based on the risk that's presented itself. In overcharging the county, and that's why you built up this significant reserve, which you can then use in future years. So, again, it's a good problem to have. Medical inflation certainly is extremely high. Again, if you were outside of ISAC this year, you would have saw a much larger increase. I do know our pool's going to go up more. We had a 1.5% base rate increase. Next year, I think it's going to be 7 to 8. I think that's going to be the starting point next year. Your county, though, continues to perform really well. If you keep the discounts that you have, my guess is you will not exceed 10%. The only way you could get above a 10% increase from ISAC is if you lost some of your discounts.
Well, the comment that is we're still providing Plan 9 or Plan 8 benefits, so to continue to target Plan 8 actual premiums isn't unreasonable on behalf of the employees, because they're receiving the same coverage that they would if we were on Plan 8, and that's what they would be paying.
Yeah, but those old premiums, you just outperformed those premiums
Yeah.
by a large margin, and that's why you built up the reserve. Because you kept those old rates, and that then in turn put $1 million in your account.
But to still always reference back to what Plan 8 or 9 would actually cost the employee,
Yeah, now
I think is fair to have them participate at that level,
You
because
could,
they're still receiving that same benefit. just in a different
you
way.
certainly could. For the illustration that I put together, I used 50% of the difference based off the new premium. So this would give an advantage to the county and to the employee. And you'll see that on the next page. So the next page is really, this is where you make all your decisions with the information that I've given you. A -10 or a -20, either option is a good option. I feel like you're in a position where you could take 20% and still be in a very good spot. And give back to your employee, because they did go through some pain going to this type of funding arrangement where you had a high deductible and an additional payer. This is, I think, a way for the county to give back to the employee. So you have the current rates plus the current cost share. So there's a lot on this page. Plan 8 is on the left, Plan 9 is in the middle, 12C plus your health savings account contribution by the employer is on the right. We then show the total premium, what percent the employer pays, what percent the employee pays, on the right-hand side. So current and renewal with a -10%, since you've already agreed, so option 1 is a -10% to plans 8 and 9. So you'll see the total premium for Plan 8 for employee only is $877, family is $1972, Plan 9 is $842, $1893. Plan 12C doesn't change because you're buying the true plan from ISAC plus your employer contribution to the HSA account. So if you keep that $1,800 and $3,400 the same, this is essentially what you've already agreed to, which would be a -6.38% renewal in overall cost. The county saves $61,678, employees save $3,700. Option 2 is a 20% reduction in premium to plans 8 and 9, based on the reserve analysis that we just looked at on the previous page. So you can see the premium shown, $780 for single, $1,753 for Plan 8, $748, $1,683 for Plan 9. Plan 12C, I made a reduction to the HSA contribution by the employer, so I could get the overall cost for Plan 12C and Plan 8 to be comparable. So regardless, if I'm an employee, if I enroll in Plan 12C and get the employer HSA contribution, or I enroll in Plan 8, which is the most common plan with a lower deductible, the county spends the same amount of money. This is a strategy other counties have put in place by offering two types, by the HSA plan and the traditional copay plan. So you'll see the single premiums are close. They're not exact, but they're close. And the same with the family. This is going to result in a significant reduction. The overall savings is $146,000. The county saves just short of $130,000. Employees save $17,000. But employees enrolled in Plan 12C will see a reduction in their employer contributions to the HSA. It's not much of a reduction, but it is a reduction.
You say, Rick, what were those amounts?
It's $1,428. It's shown right there, right above in the parentheses behind Plan 12C.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So another thing we need to look at then would be the employee portion for family. So you're going to see, if we go to current Plan 8, employees are paying $608.50 a month if they enroll their family. If you do a 20% reduction, that reduces to $486.80. So So that does pass some savings on to the employee, because we've made a 20% reduction in our premium.
Why is Plan 9 so much cheaper than Plan 8?
It's got a higher deductible, a little higher deductible and a little higher out-of-pocket maximum.
Why do we need to offer 3 plans?
I think that was because of an old union contract, or
We have audit for the sheriff's union for an additional year, but I think we just have retirees on it now,
Yeah,
and rather than changing them.
we don't have any retirees right now.
That's why there's only 4, well, there's 4 people in that plan or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep,
So
Those
there's
are
a,
employees that are using
Mhm.
9? I thought we had switched.
no, recurring employees.
Union? No.
No.
So then so you're gonna see, employees are gonna save $120 a month, which is certainly not going to be a bad thing in a job market that's very challenging for employers. I've heard counties anywhere between 6 seems like the lowest wage increase I've heard of, as high as 10 to 11 with other counties across the state. So this is a way that you could give back a fairly significant percentage based on their income. I mean, this would be a $1,500 increase in wages essentially by this reduction in cost share. And then for Plan 12C, the family premium would be increasing. So it's currently $426, it'd be going up to $482, because again, we use that same 50% of the difference between single family. Because again, the whole idea was make the county's cost very comparable between Plan 8 and 12C. Which I think is a good strategy, because one plan has benefits, the other plan has some different benefits. You're gonna get the HSA contributions on one, you're not on the other, but you have a lower deductible. But to the county, regardless of which plan the employee enrolls in, you know your approximate cost. Every county that I've presented this type of arrangement to, they've moved forward with something very similar, where they wanted to get the total cost of the plan to the county roughly the same for each plan. Questions? I mean, this is really the most important page. There's a few more. We can look at dental and vision and voluntary, but that's gonna take all of 5 minutes. The health insurance decision and what type of reduction is really the most important. Now, so let's say as a scenario, your ISAC premium goes up 15% next year. So you're spending $700, so 15% would be $112,000. You're gonna have likely $1 million in there in your reserve. So you have a lot of money to work off of right now that you have banked. A negative 20% should get us really close to what our actual costs are for the next fiscal year. And then again, you're in a better position than any county based on your size that we work with on a reserve balance to work off of. Every county's seen financial advantages to doing this, but your county's been so healthy over the last 4 years that you've seen the biggest advantage.
Doesn't mean it's gonna stay that way.
No, it doesn't mean it's gonna stay that way, but you do have parameters in place. You have a maximum liability within your mini self-funded health plan. You can never spend more than $5,300 per employee. With a lot of true self-funded employers that I work with, we buy deductibles like ISAC of $150,000, so that's a totally different conversation. This is a very small self-funded health plan. And it frees up $150,000. I don't know what, I'm sure more than the negative 20%'s been budgeted for next year, so.
Yeah, we reduced it 10% for next year.
Yeah, if you do a negative 20, I would certainly tell employees that try to communicate that this was just a one-time adjustment of some of the changes we made 4 years ago. We've just seen some financial advantages because of that, and we're making an adjustment to get back to what we think our true costs are. Certainly do not anticipate or expect that to continue into the future, because it's not going to. Employers are really struggling with healthcare and how do they control their costs. This is not a common conversation I get to have. And I think you're gonna have a lot of happy employees, especially if they enroll their family.
Any thoughts? Jason, anybody?
I think we've created a great approach for our employees to not see significant change to what was available to them. And through this process, we've identified a place the county can save money, not at the expense of what's incurring our employees. I think it's personally past time to lower what we're contributing and show our taxpaying citizens that we're trying to be reasonable and responsible, and I think the ending fund is crazy high. I know we have that potential exposure if things change, but we're more than funded for it, and we can address in future years budgeting if that situation showed up. We have our worst case scenario, we're almost double what we need. We have our annual situation, we've got 10 years worth of coverage. I don't think we take that approach anywhere else.
Yeah, you're in a financially very good position.
And I don't know anybody else that's had their insurance at set fixed price for this long either.
No.
So,
It's really because you're performing really well and you're inside of a bigger pool. You're not on your own. If you're on your own, you would not have seen the renewals that you witnessed.
Ideally, I would still like Plan 8 and 9 available so we can compare what that actual plan would cost per premium. And I would shoot for targeting that more than just making them all cost the county even across the board, but Plan 8's already gone. and
Yeah,
9 is
Plan 9,
probably on its way out the door,
it's gonna be
so
gone, yeah.
this is a reasonable
what's it gonna
approach.
get replaced?
Just no counties are enrolled in those plans anymore, so they're just disappearing.
What's the one we got in the union contract?
They're using 11E, but all of them are based on Plan 8 features.
So if you do that, we would just then keep the employees' costs the same. So that's gonna further enhance the savings. So this was just a scenario, you could run it a million different ways. I just thought, if you make a reduction, save the county money, save the employee money. They've made the contributions into this reserve over the years, so why not have both parties financially gain? And you can see the county is the largest contributor. In option 2, the county saves, of the 146, the county saves 129.
I could see doing option 2, but I couldn't see doing 3. Yeah.
No, I just show that as an option. I wanted to see how far you had to go to get to where your reserve finally started to be reduced. And you have to go to 30% to do that.
Honestly, I intended for this to be the last fly I throw in the ointment, but we've already approved actually using the 426, the actual, the top right one for 12C HSA.
Okay.
Employee contribution 426.
Yeah.
We could change the action, but with your scenarios you run here, if they were to contribute the 482.33, the county would only need to contribute 1279 rather than 1400.
Yep, it would just go up that additional $60.
I'm content to let them decide if they wanna put that premium savings into their HSA rather than saying, we're gonna charge you that and contribute more to your HSA. But either way works, I guess I would just
Yeah.
assume say, here's what the county's putting in. You do have premium savings that you could attain this level with, but
I can very easily update that to 426. That's gonna increase the county's cost on that plan by $60 a month for each family. but it's not gonna be a drastic change to the overall savings.
Follow that.
So if you reduce the employee's cost, that's gonna increase the employer's cost.
Well, I'm saying we don't contribute to that level. We say you have the money available for you to put into the HSA.
Well, and I already made the reduction to 2,800, so that's already assuming a $600 annual reduction to the HSA account.
But I don't wanna do anything that dissuades people from signing up for the HSA account versus the other plans.
Yep.
I agree, but I don't know why we need to use our taxpayers' dollars to incentivize it for them. They've already got planned premium savings that they could use to get to that point.
Your contributions are very high based on the plan that you're buying for the employee. I mean, their deductible is $2,800, so they were getting 2/3 of their deductible funded by the county. $1,428 is still a great HSA contribution on behalf of an employer, based on the deductible that you're offering for the health plan. If you wanna leave that 426 there, that's an easy change, and it's not gonna shift these numbers by very many points. The employer's cost is gonna go up slightly, obviously the employee cost is gonna come down. But you could still keep that $1,400 and $2,800 HSA contribution. That does save the county money from the current 18 and 34. I just thought 14 and 28 was a slight reduction, but we're not ripping the Band-Aid off and going to option 3, which is 1,000, 2,000. That'd be a drastic change from what's currently being done.
And then the premium would go down as well as the contribution.
Yeah, the premium for the employee to have family coverage would stay the same at 426. That's still an incredible benefit as a family with a $5,400 deductible to have $2,800 of that being paid for into your account. I'm surprised we don't have more folks even enrolled in this. Anyone that's young and healthy that doesn't use their health care, which I know you have a lot of those based on your claims data, it's a great way to accumulate a significant HSA balance.
Do we report to the employees how much they have in there?
It's their own account, so the HSA accounts are owned by the employee, so we wouldn't even have access. Rochelle may be able to see balances, I'm not sure if you can with theirs.
I've never tried it, so I guess I have no idea.
Yeah, it's their account, so they would know.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's different than Flex, like a Flex spending account is owned by the employer, so you have access to that. That's a good question.
I could see option 2 and just leave it like that.
Leave it as
Yeah.
the 426, or you?
As it is here.
As it is here, okay, at the 482?
Yep. But that's just my thought.
It makes the cost for each plan basically the same, and just let the employees choose.
More thoughts, comments?
So are you thinking of making these changes
Yeah,
for
that's.
22, 23, that I gotta make all these changes then to this? I mean, this is a conversation we had a month ago, that's why I
That's
tried to
what I
up
wanted
it,
to do.
yeah. Be less work than it, now we
I
have to go
don't
back and
disagree.
do it all again.
I don't want to do that to you, but that's why I wanted the decision months ago.
I know, that's what
I
it's
don't
a
think
great
we
time
need
to
to
have
fund,
it.
build those funds up. So yes, I think it's, but I don't know.
Well, it's not like it can't be done, it's just
Kind of like paying.
a lot of extra work. That's why, that's why we tried to have this
Yeah.
conversation a month ago,
Yep.
so that when we were doing the budgets for the department heads, they can do it, and we got it balanced, and now, I mean, it can be done,
Yeah,
it's just,
well, regardless, you're at least moving, you've made a -10 you've agreed to, a -10, 20 you certainly can do. That, I'm out of that decision.
Or is it easier just to do -10 this year and 20 next year?
I can do whatever the board decides. I mean, I'll do whatever you decide.
We've taken,
Right now it's at 10 this year, 10 next year.
it's no for next fiscal year, it's at 10, we reduced it to 10. That if the board decides today, we can reduce it to 20 instead.
This is the way, I like for the folks enrolled in family, based on what I hear in the job market, if you can save them some money with their contributions, I do think that would be very well received by your employees. We have counties just saying, we're losing employees, we can't find any employees. I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing here, but.
Depends on the position.
Yeah, yeah.
And Jason, I gather you're not even happy with the 10%.
I think it's just too low. I said that at the time.
Too low?
Well, yeah, the way this all
Yeah, I'm-
pencils out.
The negative 20 certainly support it. I think it'd be my recommendation to try to get it back to what your costs are.
But I think we should have figured that out a month ago for Rochelle's sake. At this point, I do think it would be wise to adjust what we're contributing to HSAs.
I don't want to dissuade anybody from getting into the HSA. I want them all to be, equal weight. Because now that we've got the participation, I don't want to see people bailing out of it.
And I don't think you will with a slight reduction. I don't. Still a great employer contribution.
All right, what's your guys' wishes? You said 12:50?
Yeah, I got a little, I always set it 15 minutes earlier than I have to be absolutely out of here, so I got a little time.
Do we need a motion on this, or what do you?
If you want to change it, we
If
do.
I want to change it, do we want to stay the same? Michelle's got her fingers crossed.
I'll do whatever.
I'm just teasing.
I'll do whatever. Then that brings up another question, then we already reduced the general supplemental levy. And once we make these changes, it's gonna increase that balance, would I reduce it? And I have Friday deadline.
Reduce it, that's what I wanted to make the decision a month ago.
I know.
And the broken record here, but.
Well, I didn't have these numbers a month ago, so.
Yeah, we did, we needed to work them ourselves.
Well, I have the numbers now, and I'm fine with doing the 10% we already agreed to, and if you guys want to drop it 20 next year, I can see going that route.
Is that a motion?
I don't need, I'm not asking to change it, I'm just leaving it like it is, because otherwise it just
Sure.
creates a.
Stay as is.
There's not enough time for her to have to mess with all of this at the last minute,
I
so.
think I might want to see her scratch a little bit.
I said I would do whatever, I will do whatever.
She's chewing her fingernails.
Just leave the HSA contributions the same for one more year then, or?
Well, we dropped to 10%, is what we'd already
You
had.
dropped the premiums, but I don't know if you made any HSA contribution change.
We didn't, so I'm fine with where it's at.
But our first motion to HSA contributions referenced 2 years. We wouldn't have any authority to contribute to HSA without action, is my reading of it. Or it.
Your
would
reading's
likely
wrong,
show.
I'm telling you, no, I'm just kidding.
We'll put it on the audit then.
No, so the first 2 years we agreed, but the third year, which is fiscal year January of '23, the board would have to take action as to how they want to continue on. I mean, whatever you guys decide, I can make those changes.
That's probably more minimal. I mean, that's not gonna shift anything too far with an HSA change. The premium change is the bigger one, certainly. Dental and vision, there's no change in the plans. The rates on dental went up 3%, which was a standard increase across the board for every ISAC group. We came out 2 years of no rate changes. Vision's locked in through 2024. No rate changes on your accident policy through ISAC or the voluntary accidental death and dismemberment. Everything else just stays the same.
Any other discussion? Any good?
Yeah, so if you do the -10, I suspect, I'll make sure that if you wanna try to meet before Christmas next year, is that ideal timing for you guys?
Yeah, early
Or
January.
first January, yeah, I have 26, and so I got a lot to do in a very short amount of time, and it gets to be a challenge, but I will make sure that we come in January at the very latest, before the 15th, so you can have a decision made. You'll probably have $1,050,000, maybe 1.1 in there, and then we can try to make a potentially larger adjustment next year. If you have a 10% increase, like may happen, then you'll have that information too.
Super. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you guys. Let me know what other questions may come up. So -10 is what we're gonna go with.
Yep.
So these are going to be your rates, so we'll use those for employee navigator.
But we're using the actual plan rate for the HSA for the employee.
Correct. Yep, so
Not-
the employee's portion, so that 426 is going to remain. So not the 490.67. Are you okay then with option 1, so the family costs are gonna come down 10% for the employee? So 547.65 and 525.60 for 8 and 9. Okay, so they're gonna see some savings.
And those are the rates we're using in the county for the,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
well,
matches your numbers too that we went over. Yep. So that'll be good, they're gonna see a 10% savings for anyone enrolling family this year. And I think at a minimum next year, you can do another 10 without question, and maybe more.
I'll ask Elizabeth to change the HSA contribution item. If we're not changing premiums. That won't change the budget, right? Just
No.
what we're,
No,
say we grow the ending fund, if we reduce it, we'll
Yeah.
keep the premiums.
right,
That's not a headache to you, right?
no. That part's not.
I'll make a motion that we reduce the county contributions to HSAs, plan our individual HSAs to the 1,400, 2,800.
Got a motion on the floor? Support it. Motion and support. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'll make sure to be here a little bit earlier next year.
All right, gonna get the other, anything else, committee reports, courthouse? Anybody got anything?
Hey, tell me with your shades.
Well, I've bid, and they're all pretty comparable. I'm trying to get samples so I can see them on a wall, on a, window, but haven't got that far yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So are they planning on bringing them?
Well, one is, I thought, but of me being gone last week, but sampling and stuff, I just want samples so we can see.
You wanna know what you're looking at.
Yeah,
before
I
you
do.
buy
It'd be
it.
nice to have one window
Yeah,
so you can see.
Yeah, I mean,
So
pictures on the wall to me mean nothing, I got to see it. But,
so you don't buy on the internet either? I like to touch it and feel it, see what I can get.
yeah,
When you look at how many windows we got in here, you're gonna wanna have
Something right.
something you like and a sample of it to see how it's gonna look.
yeah, I am, so.
'Cause that's not gonna be a cheap purchase.
No, it's not as bad as what you think, but yeah, it's not gonna be cheap. They're not gonna be, it's under 30,000.
They're not giving them away.
No, they're not.
We're not going to Walmart to get them.
No.
And if I were to be cheap either.
So that's where, I got all 3 quotes, I'm just trying to see if they can give me samples of what it looks like, so that we're all.
So the best line and remote control, so all that work to put it together.
Last year's, even this year.
Yeah, I told you about Ernie's trying to get somebody to coincide with the clerk's office, but hopefully something will work in with everybody's schedule.
Shortage of everything. He can do it.
How are we coming with that pole replacement? out the front door here. Did we get that pole yet?
I thought we did, I thought the engineer's office was working on something with that, but I never got to double check with her. I know the pole out here, the flagpole, it came damaged, so that got sent back, that didn't even come off the truck, it was damaged, so that got sent back.
Cause I think Ernie said he found the same light and everything to stick back.
Yeah, I think he has,